Good afternoon, everyone at 1UCC and Good Shepherd. Pastor Matt and Pastor Becky here for another exciting episode of Dear Revs. This is actually our 11th episode. Already, 11 episodes. Wow. So in today's episode is a follow-up question to last week's episode. Someone wondered what kind of books we read when we're not reading church books. So Becky, what kind of books are you reading when you're not reading your church books?
Well, I have to admit, I have trouble reading nonfiction. I have had to do it for many years. I make myself do it every now and then. Most church books are nonfiction, so it's hard for me to read nonfiction when it's not church related. The last nonfiction book I read that's not church related was earlier this year, and it's Pale Rider by Laura Spinney. It's about the great influenza of 1918. I did purposely read it at the beginning of the pandemic because I believe those who don't understand the past or who have forgotten it are condemned to repeat it. So if you want a historical view of pandemics before, highly recommend it. Actually, I started reading about pandemics in 2009 when my mom gave me a copy of John Barry's Great Influenza, another fabulous book. And so for the past 11 years, I've had this interest in reading about pestilence. There's some fantastic books out there. Highly recommend Laura Spinney's Pale Rider if you want a historical view of past outbreaks. Fiction, though, is my first love and really my jam. An author I have fallen in love with earlier this year, N.K. Jemisin. I think I've read 6 of her books since March. She is a speculative fiction fantasy writer, fantastic writer, and don't let speculative fiction and fantasy fool you. I'm going to be talking more about her in my sermon this week. She has a lot of great insights into contemporary issues, whether it's the environment, race relations, the condition of the human heart. Highly recommend her writing. Another one of my favorite authors, and I think I've read everything he's published, is Fredrik Backman. He's Swedish, and this is one of his most recent novels called Us Against You. But my favorite book by Fredrik Backman is one called My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. And it's all about the power of narratives and helping us connect with life, connect with those we love. And Matt, it's one of your favorite books too, isn't it?
Indeed. My grandmother asked me to tell you she was sorry. It was the focus of one of my sermons last year during our pop culture series last summer. Some of my other favorite authors, I enjoy fantasy, and one of my favorite fantasy series is a series called The Wheel of Time, and the first book is called The Eye of the World. And it's a great series and a great world, a lot like The Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, just a fun series.
Who wrote that?
Game of Thrones?
No, The Wheel of Time.
Oh, Wheel of Time is Robert Jordan. It's amazing. One of my favorite authors. He also wrote some Conan books that some of you might have read over the years.
Really?
Conan the Barbarian books he's famous for. Another favorite author or favorite book I'm reading right now is one called The Alchemist. It's an older book, but just a fun fictional parable-like story that I'm really enjoying as I'm preaching on parables. Another favorite author I have is Neil Gaiman, and he wrote this fun novel called Good Omens, which is a funny take on the apocalypse.
A funny take on the apocalypse?
A funny take on the apocalypse.
It's a great book. If you haven't read it,
yes,
you should read it.
Definitely.
So one of the best uses of our taxpayer dollars is our public library system. I know a lot of the libraries are closed right now. Some are doing curbside pickup of books. One way that you can really get into your library is through Overdrive and the Libby app. I know e-reading isn't quite the same as holding a book, but it's better than no books at all. And there are lots of great choices on there. You can get recommendations of what librarians are reading. It's actually how I found N.K. Jemisin in part and started reading her stuff. So highly recommend the Libby app by Overdrive and support the library system. If you have a library card with Berks County Public Library or with Wyomissing Public Library, you can access it. So friends, we also want to know what you're reading. What are your books right now that are in your hands and in front of your faces? Who are your favorite authors? And what do you think we should be reading? So in the comments section of our video on Facebook or YouTube, please share some of your favorite authors and books. Friends, this will be the last time we will be with you for a couple weeks. Since we have been back to church, our offices are opening in various capacities. We're not home as much together. It's getting a little bit harder for us to make Dear Revs every week. So we'll be coming with you every 2 weeks now. So you will not see us next week, but you will see us the week after. In the meantime, please keep sending us your questions, the things that you'd like to see us talk about, your thoughts, your burning wonderings about what it means to follow Jesus in these days. So keep reading, keep washing your hands, wear face masks, stay 6 feet away, keep praying, and be well, friends. Take care.
Take care. God bless.